I still remember that night very clearly, even though I tried not to. It was one of those quiet nights where everything feels too silent, like the world is holding its breath. I was alone in the house, sitting on my bed, scrolling on my phone, trying to distract myself from the strange feeling in my chest. The house was old, not abandoned, but old enough to make sounds at night. The walls creaked, the floor whispered when the temperature changed, and sometimes the wind made the windows shake softly. I told myself it was normal. I had lived there for months. Nothing bad had ever happened, but that night felt different, heavy, uncomfortable, like someone was watching me, even though I knew I was alone. I lived there by myself after my divorce. I needed a cheap place, somewhere quiet, somewhere far from people. The hallway outside my bedroom was long and narrow, with all yellow lights that barely worked. During the day, it looked normal. At night, it looked endless. The shadows stretched along the walls, and the darkness at the far end of the hallway felt deeper than it should be. I usually kept my bedroom door closed, but that night I left it slightly open to let some air in. I regret that decision more than anything. I was just about to turn off the light when I heard it. My name. Not loud, not a scream, just a soft voice. Ethan. I froze. At first, I thought it came from my phone. I checked the screen. Nothing. No video. No audio. No call. The room was silent again. So silent that I could hear my own breathing. I laughed nervously and told myself it was my imagination. Stress, lack of sleep, too many horror stories. I turned my phone face down and lay back on the bed, trying to calm my mind. Then I heard it again. Ethan! This time it was clearer. It came from the hallway. My heart started beating fast. My mouth went dry. I sat up slowly, staring at the crack between the door and the frame. The hallway light was on, but it flickered softly, like it was struggling to stay awake. I listened carefully. I waited for footsteps, for movement, for anything that made sense, but there was nothing. I spoke quietly, almost whispering. Hello? No answer. I stood up, my legs shaking slightly. and walked toward the door. Every step felt heavy, like my body didn't want me to move forward. When I reached the door, I opened it just a little more and looked into the hallway. It was empty, completely empty. No one was there, no shadows moving, no doors open, just a long hallway and the faint buzzing of the light. I sighed with relief and shook my head. Relax, I said to myself. You're tired. I closed the door and locked it. I sat back on the bed and decided to sleep. I turned off the light and lay down, facing the wall, pulling the blanket up to my shoulders. My eyes were closed, but my mind was still awake. I kept replaying the sound in my head, the voice. It sounded familiar, too familiar, like someone I knew, like someone who knew me. Just as I was starting to drift off, I heard it again. This time, it was closer, right outside my door. Ethan, please. My eyes opened instantly. My entire body felt cold. The voice sounded sad now, tired, almost gentle. It didn't sound threatening. It sounded like it needed help, like it was someone who trusted me. I sat up slowly, staring at the door. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just listened. Ethan, open the door. I whispered. Who is it? There was a long pause. Too long. Then the voice answered. It's me. That answer made no sense. My hands started shaking. My mind raced, trying to understand who was me, who could be standing outside my door at this hour. No one had a key. No one knew I was there. I swallowed hard and asked again, louder this time. Who are you? Another pause. Then the voice changed. It sounded exactly like my own voice. Ethan, it's you. I jumped back from the door. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. That was impossible. I hadn't spoken. I was inside the room. I covered my mouth with my hand, trying to stop myself from making any noise. My thoughts were spinning. This was a joke. It had to be. Maybe someone was playing with me. Maybe the house had bad acoustics. Maybe I was losing my mind. Then came the sound that made my blood freeze. A soft knocking, not aggressive, not fast, slow, careful. Knock, knock, knock. Each knock felt like it hit inside my chest. I stared at the door, unable to move. The voice spoke again, calm and patient. Ethan, I'm standing in the hallway. I can see the light under the door. I looked down. There was no light. The hallway light had gone out. The space under the door was completely dark. My breathing became shallow. My thoughts screamed at me not to open the door. Every instinct told me something was terribly wrong, but at the same time, the voice sounded so real, so convincing, that a part of me wanted to believe it, wanted to open the door and end the fear. The voice sighed softly. You always do this, it said. You hesitate, you wait, you pretend nothing is wrong. Tears filled my eyes. How do you know that? I whispered. The voice answered immediately. Because I've been watching you for a long time. The knocking stopped. Silence filled the hallway again. I stayed there, sitting on the bed, staring at the door, waiting for something else to happen. Seconds passed, then minutes. Nothing. No voice, no sound. Just silence so deep it felt unreal. I didn't sleep that night. When morning came, I convinced myself it was all in my head. Stress, trauma, loneliness. I opened the door carefully. The hallway looked normal. The light worked again. Nothing was out of place. But as I was leaving for work, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. On the inside of my bedroom door, at eye level, there were three faint fingerprints from the outside. I stood there, frozen, my heart beating so loud that I thought the walls could hear it. The hallways was still empty, but the air felt heavier than before, like something unseen was standing very close to me. I whispered my own name very softly, just to test if maybe the sound was in my head. Nothing answered, but then slowly, from the end of the hallway, I heard footsteps. They were not fast, they were calm. One step, then another, like whoever was walking had all the time in the world. I wanted to run back into my room, but my legs refused to move. Fear had wrapped itself around me like chains. The footsteps stopped right in front of me. I could feel a presence, even though I saw nothing. Then the voice spoke again, closer than ever. So close, it felt like it was inside my head. It said my name, exactly the way my mother used to say it when I was a child. That was the moment my fear turned into something worse: confusion. My mother had been gone for many years. My hands were shaking as I asked, "Who are you?" The hallway lights flickered once, twice, and for a second I saw a shadow on the wall. It had my shape, my height, my face. I understood then. The voice was not calling me from the hallway, it was calling me from myself, from the fear I had been carrying, from the guilt I never faced, from the nights I ignored the silence instead of listening to it. The shadow smiled, but I did not. I took one step forward and said my name out loud, strong this time, as if I was taking it back. The lights stopped flickering. The hallway became normal again. The shadow disappeared, and the silence returned, but this time it felt peaceful. I went back into my room and closed the door. I slept until morning. Since that night, I never heard the voice again. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I remember that hallway. And I understand something important now. The most frightening voices are not the ones calling us from the dark, but the ones we refuse to face inside ourselves.